Hi, this is Steve Siebold, and we're here at the Bone Allen Mansion near Atlanta today with Jeff Levitan, who's an executive chairman with World Financial Group, one of the top people in the company. I've known Jeff for many years. And Jeff, we appreciate you coming to the mansion to talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background before WFG? I know you're a South Sider from Chicago.
I sure am.
From Chicago, as you know. And so a little bit about your background before you got involved with the company.
A blue-collar kid. My dad was a truck driver. My mom waitressed. Watched my parents struggle over the lack of money and fight about it. And I didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up, but I knew that I needed to make enough money and understand money enough where I wouldn't have to fight about it. It was the old Tony Robbins pain avoidance. People are motivated by gain or avoidance of pain, and mine was a pain avoidance strategy. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wanted to have enough money where I wouldn't fight about it later in my life. Went to college at Illinois State University, got a finance degree from college, came out of school, put a lot of resumes out, and the only company at that time to make that first offer was a company out of Minnesota called Federated Insurance, and I was a commercial property and casualty agent that went and cold called businesses during the day, which got me some thick skin.
Yeah, sure.
And then I was able to read policies, which was unusual. And I knew what they actually said and what those words meant. And I was able to provide coverage for businesses, auto dealerships, farm implement dealerships, contractors, and machine shops.
Did you move to Minnesota to take that job?
I did. I got out of college. I moved to Minnesota, Owatonna, Minnesota, which is where the headquarters was. Okay. And after a year, they sent me out to my territory, which was Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. And you said you were a finance major in school.
I sure was.
So how long did you work at Federated then?
About 2 years, 2.5. And it was a 1-year training program. So I spent a year inside of an insurance company's home office. And then they sent me out to the field, and I was out in the field for about 1.5 years.
Okay. And how were you introduced to WFG?
A friend of mine from my apartment complex. It was so awkward, like it usually is. A friend of mine who I played volleyball with in the summer, we were working out in the gym and this one February day, and he started prospecting me, which, felt a little weird.
Sure.
Like it does.
Right.
And he said, you ought to come meet my mentor, which is, at that point, I didn't really know what a mentor was.
We didn't talk about that back in those days, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't as popular.
So he brought me to the office, and the good news was it was a professional office, and the person he introduced me to was professional and nice and direct and straightforward. And his name is Greg Kapp, and he did a great job for me. And he asked me a lot of questions. I asked him a lot of questions, and it kind of subsided my my skepticism about just the way I was introduced. And at the end, we decided that I was going to go into business with him.
And you must have been a pretty tough sell coming from a traditional insurance background, someone that could actually read and understand policies. You must not have been an easy prospect.
I don't know how I was. You never look at yourself through the same lenses other people look at you through.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what I was at that time. I was ambitious, I was hungry, and I was frustrated with my job. Nothing against the company that I was with, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy there. I didn't like cold calling. And at my early 20s, you take a little blow in your ego when you get rejected a lot.
Sure.
And so that's where I was at that time. Plus, I wasn't getting paid what I thought I was worth. So when I came on in and they said you can determine your own income, you work in warm markets, you don't have to cold call, it all sounded pretty good. And then they said financial services, which was what I went to school for in the first place, not really insurance. And so that attracted me more too, because I wanted to be a financial advisor. I actually was one of those few that's what I wanted to do, or end up on Wall Street. But I didn't end up coming out of school doing either.
And how long did it take you to become successful enough to leave your job at Federated?
About 8 to 9 months. I started here part-time, evenings and weekends. And in about 9 months, I was making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, which was enough to comfortably and safely make my transition from my job to this company.
That's a lot of money, especially 20 plus years ago, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of money back then.
It still is now, but it's more then, yeah.
It was. And that's what I needed. I think a lot of people come full-time too soon. and then they got the pressure on them, and when you have pressure on you, you push that pressure onto others. So I made it comfortable, and there was no pressure at all. I made the transition, came full time, and then immediately went and opened up my own office. And I was 25 years old.
Wow. What do you think was the secret of your success?
Believe it or not, I think the fact that I had just been cold calling businesses and I had thick skin, so rejection didn't feel the same to me. I was already conditioned, so it didn't bother me as much as it bothers people who've never tried to sell anything before, or people that have approval addiction and that really just want to fit in. I was already okay with somebody not agreeing with me. Plus, I'm from the south side of Chicago, which was somewhat argumentative anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
usually about the Cubs and the Sox.
Usually about that, and whether the Bears are good.
We were taught on the north side not to really argue with you south side guys.
That's safe.
Yeah, we heard you guys were tough.
Probably a safe bet.
We stay in the suburbs as much as we can out there, No, let me ask you this. Why WFG as opposed to another, company that has the same kind of structure?
Yep. They were the first ones to talk to me. It's that simple.
Wow.
I didn't have Merrill Lynch knocking down my door at 24, single and broke. I didn't have Morgan Stanley, UBS, all these big prestigious firms weren't coming after a broke 24-year-old. And so I felt honored that any financial company would even consider me at that point in my life.
What would you say is the downside? I mean, if anyone knows this business, it's you. I mean, you're one of the top people at the very top of the company. What's the downside of this opportunity?
Well, there's a lot of downsides. I'll be honest with you. I think that it's not easy. There's actual work to be done. You have to show up to work every day still, even though you are your own boss as an independent contractor. You still, if you don't work, you probably aren't going to make money. That's number one. You have to work. So that's one of the downsides. Number two, there's licensing. Somebody actually has to go study. And honestly, insurance is pretty dry material. So you got to study again. And if you're straight out of college, you're used to taking tests. But if you're a 50-year-old man, you haven't probably taken a test since you were 20. I mean, it's been 30 years since you studied and took an exam.
Right.
So there's some licensing that you got to pass. And then you've got to go out there in the field and do the hardest thing, which is face possible rejection, prospecting people. And a lot of people don't like the way that feels. And they don't like it so much that immediately upon experiencing it, they quit.
Sure. Okay, let's talk for a second about the criticism that World Financial gets. You guys get a lot of criticism online, as you know, as a lot of companies do, or maybe every company that's large does. As you know, one of the things that people say is they say, well, WFG is a scam. How do you address that criticism?
Well, if we were a scam, a couple things. Number one, I doubt that we'd be able to operate in the financial services space. Broker-dealers, the SEC, FINRA, it's a very regulated industry.
Probably picked the wrong industry for a scam, yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things that have a easier point of entry and less scrutiny than the financial industry. I think the medical and financial industry are probably two of the most where there's a lot of consumer protections put in place. So it's highly regulated. A scam would not, it could start there, which there's been a lot of scams in the financial industry, but they haven't lasted 20 some odd years.
Right.
I've been here 23 years now, and if we were a scam, we wouldn't be existing anymore. We wouldn't even be in business. So I think when someone says it's a scam, where that comes from is really the issue. It's not whether we're not. We wouldn't be able to be in existence and be a business if we were.
How about people that they attend a meeting, a training? You guys do a lot of events, of course. And people say, well, they wear the same colors sometimes. They have this whole whoosh thing and they not chant, but they kind of, it's very cultish. WFG is a cult. What do you say to those people?
I'd say we're more of a team than a cult. And I guess that no one's making anyone drink poisonous Kool-Aid or whatever a cult would do.
Right.
We're not praying to some spaceship that's going to come in and take us away. Do we have team shirts and do we have fun when we do our things? Yeah, like other teams do in other organizations. You know, when the American Red Cross goes out somewhere to do something, they all wear the same shirts.
That's right.
Right? And so I would say we're more of a team and we have a culture. But, a cult is probably doing nefarious things or has nefarious principles. we're offering financial services to those usually overlooked by big financial firms because somebody financially can't qualify to get the attention of somebody that has a $250,000 firm minimum to even talk to you. So we like to have fun, and we took that from the network marketing industry. In my opinion, this is like a combination of three different points of view. One of them is that networking side. We took the fun, we took the excitement, we took the recognition, the things that make people feel good, and we brought that over here. We took some things from the franchise industry, even though we're not a franchise. They've got a proven duplicatable system, and that's why people spend so much money on a franchise, is because it's a proven result. If I spend this, I should probably get this out as a result. So we took those principles, and then we also took from the traditional financial industry products that really serve people and pay well. So we took the best from three different places and put it here. We left out the high capitalization requirement for franchises. A lot of those, you have to have a few $100,000. You might have to mortgage your house and literally assign your firstborn child to buy one or to buy in.
Along with a lot of working capital in the bank that you have to prove that you have.
You sure do.
Yeah.
And so we left that part out. The traditional financial industry is very exclusive. Not everyone can play. You've got to look a certain way. You have to be from a certain pedigree of a family, and they don't let everyone try. So it's not really it's exclusive. And I think we left that part out, and we're very inclusive. And then in the networking side, let's be honest, the products themselves sometimes are temporary. They're a flash in the pan, or if they're good, they end up on the shelf at Costco or Walmart, and you built this whole business around something that ends up becoming mainstream, and you lose everything you worked on. So the products are gimmicky sometimes, and we've got some of the biggest and best financial firms and their products in our portfolio. So, and they're here, financial services and products are here to stay. So.
Now, because WFG is MLM or multi-level marketing, network marketing, depending on the way you want to phrase it, some people associate that, as you know, with a pyramid scheme. What do you say to people when they come up to you, and I'm sure they have 1,000 times, and said, Jeff, this is a pyramid scheme. You're running a pyramid scheme. I
get that all the time, because it's the first question. Once somebody finds out there's recruiting here, that's immediately where they go to. So I would ask, well, why do you think it's in MLM or network marketing? And they go, well, don't you have to recruit people? And I said, no, you don't have to recruit anybody. As a matter of fact, there's a big percentage of our people that are licensed professionals, and they just sell financial services, and they actually don't do any recruiting. It's not their thing.
Do you know approximately what that percentage is?
I don't.
It's different in every organization, I imagine.
Every office, not just each organization. I've got people in the office I work in that they'd like to recruit, they just don't. They're engineers, they're more technical, they like financial planning, they love, reading the Wall Street Journal and the ticker tape and looking and learning about that type of stuff, and that's what they do. They sell financial services and don't recruit. And then there's people that run it more like one of those, and they recruit everybody. And so you get a little bit of everything, and it depends which office you get introduced to and the way that person operates their business. But I could argue both sides. You don't have to recruit to get licensed and sell financial services. So when people say, well, you have to recruit, you don't have to. Most MLMs, though, you have to if you're going to make money.
Can you make a good living just selling?
A fantastic living, and there's a lot of people who do. Financial services themselves have built in them, and it's cooked in. It's not added on like a lot of other industries. We don't sit with a client and add on charges and things to increase our pay. If you're my brother or my dad or my uncle, you pay the same as someone who's a total stranger for my services. It's in the product. I don't control that.
Sure.
So and their financial services are high paying. They're just high paying products. They pay well. And that's why if you're going to be a salesperson and sell anything, you might as well sell something that pays well and has residual income attached to it. And just like your car insurance guy, every time you renew your car insurance, they get paid a little bit. your homeowner's insurance, you get paid. Those are called renewals. And so there's renewal commissions in insurance and financial services. Everyone's 401k, everyone's financial products, they have a little trail commission. There's an internal management fee that's normally somewhere around 1/4 of 1 point to 2 points built in. And whoever set that up originally gets a little percentage of the percentage forever on whatever's in there and whatever anyone adds to their 401k and IRA. So that's called a trail commission. So what's interesting about financial services, if you're going to sell something, selling something with a renewal and a trail involved makes a nice career. At some point, you're servicing clients and taking care of them. You don't have to make your next sale to survive. At some point, it gets easier, and at some point, you get lifestyle. And not all sales organizations are that way. Most of them are like hunting. You're hungry, you hunt, you got to kill something, and then you can eat.
Sure.
This, you could take care of old clients. It's more like farming.
Would you say that part of the pyramid scheme objection, let's say, is that most people don't really understand what a pyramid scheme, because I've had a lot of people, as you have, probably you more than me, but people that have asked me about pyramid schemes, and I don't think people really understand what a true pyramid scheme is. Now, I don't know if you're quite old enough to remember or not, I just don't know. But like in Chicago, for example, for years, we would get mail. When I was a kid, we'd get mail. And I know I'm older than you, but we'd get mail, and it was like a chain letter thing. And I would have to put $2,000 in, then I'd get you to put $4,000 in, then you put $6,000. That's a pyramid scheme. I mean, that's technically chain letter pyramid. And I don't think most people even remember that or experienced it, but that's where it really came from.
No, in a more modern day would be Bernie Madoff.
Sure, of course, yeah.
It's
Ponzi scheme, yeah,
a Ponzi scheme
sure.
Or something where there's no product.
Sure.
It's new money coming in pays for people at the top taking money out.
Right.
So I think that if you really look at that we don't get paid anything from a recruit coming in. Somebody new gets started, they pay a $100 processing fee, and they do some things at the headquarters in the back office, but we don't get any of that in the field. We don't make any money until someone sells financial services. Right. So as far as a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme, I've never felt that way here, but I've heard it a lot. And I think you're right. It's coming from people who don't have a good understanding of what that is in the first place. It's just something you say.
Sure.
Right? It's just a term that's thrown around lightly out there. And it's just not an accurate description.
Kind of like cult.
Which
is actually an extreme religious sect. It's a religious connection, which is obviously not part of business. But how about MLM? People that say, not that they say it's, these people are not saying it's a pyramid scheme, but they just don't like MLM. Do you ever try, what do you say to those people? Because obviously that's been a big part of your success, as well as so many other leaders that have made so much money.
And we'd ask them, what is it that you don't like? And most of them all say the recruiting. I don't want to do any recruiting. I say, well, how about just doing financial referrals? How about you get licensed so we can legally compensate you? And as you're going about your daily life, you could refer people in. We'll do a free financial needs analysis for somebody. If they become a client, we'll legally and split the client with you, and you'll get paid. You did your part. You introduced the client. Maybe you were part of the recommendations, maybe not. But you don't have to recruit anybody. And there's that way of affiliating with our firm. And so some people say, that's not bad. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind getting a financial education, which nobody's getting in school these days.
Right.
Getting these licenses. Most people carry a real estate license and never use it.
Sure.
They carry all kinds of licenses. Why don't you pick up these licenses and get the education that goes along with that, and keep your eyes and ears open for people in need. There's a lot of them out there. There's more people in need right now of what we have than are, afraid of being part of something that they don't understand.
Especially all these baby boomers and Gen Xers that are trying to retire with no money in the bank. I mean, I just finished a book on this whole thing about people trying to retire, and the numbers are staggering. Almost no one over 40 has any money. I mean, it's a very small percentage of people.
So I get this a lot, Steve. People ask me, well, they make an accusation. Well, I heard this about that product, or I heard this about that product. And instead of initially defending him and going on the defensive, I just ask them, okay, well, what do you have that's better? And they look at me with a blank stare. And they're like an armchair quarterback on Sunday.
Right.
Telling you what's wrong with everything, but having no solution
right.
for what's right. I said, show me something better, and I'll consider it. I've got a family I'm raising. I've got 5 children. I'm trying to get through life. I own all of our products. I believe in them. I put my money there. Show me something that's not that's better, and maybe I'll put my money there.
Sure. Now, sorry, I mean, cut you off.
So when someone says, well, that's this or that's that, well, what do you have that's better? Oh, nothing. Oh, okay.
I just want to complain about your product.
I just want to complain about things. Okay.
Yeah.
It's easy to be a critic. There's no shortage of critics in the world. There's an overabundance of critics.
Sure.
There's a shortage of people trying to do something about it and make a better life for themselves and those people around them.
Now, and the people that you say, oh, I don't want to do MLM because I don't want to recruit, but sure, I could refer people. And when they do that and they see they're getting less money, do they say, hey, I think I might want to start recruiting some people. I want to make more money for doing the same, because it's really the same thing.
All of these objections usually come from new people that don't understand. But the further someone gets into it, I think they understand more and they appreciate it more. It might not still be for them after they learn all about it, but all their initial impressions are usually gone after they've been around for a little while.
Okay, let's talk for a second about the FFIUL, the Transamerica product. Some people complain about this, online, again, as you know so well. And they say, well, this is a Transamerica product. Of course, World Financial Group is owned by Transamerica, so the criticism is that you guys are pushing this product with the clients and the associates because it's owned by Transamerica, the commissions are higher, et cetera. And some people say it's a faulty product. As you know, they'll say, well, the cost of insurance becomes so high as you get older. Of course, cost of insurance, it's with every product, right? But how do you defend? How do you push back on those people and kind of set them straight in terms of the FFIUL?
Yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit, just in general, on financial products and what people read. One thing that I had a finance degree from college. And I got into this industry, and I was so excited to learn about financial services. And I would watch Bloomberg in the morning, or Squawk Box, or MSNBC, one of these financial channels, and they'd have a CEO of a big financial firm on TV, and boy, that person looked like a CEO. They looked like money. They smelled like money. And they said, look, everyone, all the indicators are get out of the stock market, run to bonds. We need to go to safety right now. We're repositioning all of our clients over here. And I'm like, wow, I guess that's the word on the street. That's what we need to do. And then they'd have the counterpoint come up next.
Right.
And someone else who looks just as sharp,
good, yeah.
sounds as good, says, we believe that it's going to be a bull market and you ought to come out of bonds and stay in this, and it's going to run up even further. And then I threw my hands up. I'm confused.
Does anyone wonder that? And you have a degree in finance. The rest of us are, we're baffled by this, right?
And so I see there's an opinion, a different opinion on so many different products and services. And there's 2 sides to every coin. And here's what I would tell anybody. They've got to get a further education on this stuff. They can't not learn anything about it and just take other people's opinions. Ours or anybody's. They can't take Uncle Bill's opinion if they've got an uncle who says you should do this. A lot of people who give advice aren't licensed. There's no repercussions for giving false or wrong advice. When you're licensed and you're in this industry, there could be repercussions for wrong advice. And so it's really important, I believe, that people learn a little bit more before they just take other people's opinions for anything in life. Just makes sense that you do a little understanding and education, not searching out many. A lot of people think education is this. I'm going to get 5 people's opinions, and there's my education.
Right.
That's not true either. That's not research.
Sure.
Research isn't just looking at other people's opinions. It's getting to the fundamentals and learning these. And I know these products inside and out. And here's what I found out about most of these products. None of them are perfect, but most of them are pretty good. And compared to what other people are doing, which is not saving any money, not buying any insurance, any step in the right direction is a good step. So let me start there at the 30,000 foot mark. Because before anyone gets into this great detail of this or that, the average person with no education dives into cryptocurrency because their barber tells them to.
Right.
That's what the average person is doing these days.
Sure.
And so compared to what most people are doing, which is nothing, they're not saving any money or insuring and protecting their family, anyone in the industry, I think, is doing a good job just trying. Now, inside the industry, there's many different products. Some companies only offer one. We might be a subsidiary of Transamerica, but they have to earn our business. We also have Nationwide. We also have Voya, formerly ING. We also have Pacific Life. We have all these A+ and A-rated companies that provide the majority of these products for the whole industry, and we have access to all of them.
But don't you guys get a higher commission on the Transamerica product, the FFIUL, as opposed to a Voya IUL or a Nationwide IUL?
Yeah, I think our firm does because they're sister companies, and so they do get paid a little bit more. But the agent, at the end of the day, we got to do what's right for our clients.
Does the agent get more?
I think when it filters down, it is, but they don't get the full bore of the addition.
Okay.